Chunky Badookie the 14th, going into his senior season, his freshman, sophomore, and junior season, he wasn't able to touch the field, and that's due to him being in a wheelchair. I mean, he got hurt in middle school football and been out ever since. And when I talk about all-around player, Chunky Badookie the 14th played everything, but his main position was O-line, and when I say he pancaked you, he will absolutely boom over you. But let's get into his story. Chunky Badookie the 14th grew up in a small town that didn't offer much in terms of opportunity, but despite his massive frame and undeniable talent on that football field, his life off of it was absolutely terrible. But Chunk never gave up. Raised by his grandmother in a neighborhood known more for his struggles than his success stories, Chunk's passion for football became his escape. But with his unique size and agility, caught the eye of a retired coach, Mr. Stevens. He saw past everything that Chunk was going through in his life and wanted to help him out. But after the talk with Mr. Stevens, he talked some sense into Chunk. Chunk was going to be done with football after his senior year, but he got him a preferred walk-on in a mail with the Florida Gators, and he got down there, went to work, and absolutely got the starting job. Going into Chunk's debut game against Toledo, it was time to prove his doubters wrong, throwing him out of the club early on. When I say he threw him, he absolutely threw him and stared him down and say, I'm doing this for my grandma. But I'm not gonna lie, Chunk made the biggest decision of his life to go to the Florida Gators. He left his grandma in the hood by herself, and it was time for him to go live his dream so he could get better for her. Throwing another defender out of the club, but they absolutely got the sack. He throws somebody else at the club, and that's about 4 pancakes, but I'm not gonna lie, that defense was rallying the ball, and we kicked 3. But with Chunk having success early on in the game, he ran into an encounterment with this D lineman. He told him, you got one more time to put your hands on me, boy. And I can tell you one thing he didn't do. He didn't touch me again, but we going to score another one, and we win our first game, and Chunk was absolutely happy, man. But after the big first win, coach absolutely did a great thing for Chunk. He invited some kids so Chunk could talk to him for the inspirational story that he has. But Chunk told him straight up, football gave me a chance, but it's what you do with that chance that truly matters. Let's be the change we want to see. And after that, he was so inspiring to those kids. They came up to him and wanted an autograph, man. That was big for him. But let me go ahead and break down to you what Chunk's career goals are. He want to at least win Heisman one time. He wants 500 pancakes, and he can only let up 1 sack in his whole career. Going into our next game against the Tennessee Vols, this was a big game for Chunk. His dream school was the Tennessee Vols, and he always wanted to go there to play against Alabama. But as we drove down the field, Chunky Badookie was absolutely taking cheap shots out there because he couldn't stop this D lineman number 21. He was the strongest D lineman that he ever went against. But finally going in with our first touchdown, I absolutely chop blocked this number 21 again, and I was pissed off because I couldn't block this D line. But getting down to the goal line, I absolutely reached block him, and we going with another touchdown. But on 1st and 10, I was blocking him again, and I'm not gonna lie, my chest was hurting. He was stabbing and grabbing all game. But at the end of the game, we had some bad news. Our right guard was absolutely out for the season. He broke his ribs, and Chunky kind of didn't like center. He wasn't getting as much pancakes as he wanted. He absolutely had 4. They didn't even write it down on a stat sheet. So Chunk said, I look, you want to change my position. And coach came in the room and said, somebody's position is getting changed either way. So Chunky said, no, coach, I'll step up to the plate. We don't have a backup. I will go in at right guard. And we absolutely had a center for backup. So it's time for Chunky Badookie the 14th to go to right guard and show them why he came here as a preferred walk-on, and to show them that he's an all-around player and he could play at any position that you put him at. Going into our next game against Kentucky, boom, after Chunk absolutely had to step up to the position and play right guard after the right guard got his ribs broke last game, he said, coach, I'm gonna step up and show you how I could boom anybody on that field that wants any smoke with me. I absolutely throw him to the ground with one hand, coach, and then his teammate tried to come over there and get some as well. I mean, look at them, they both look like fools. But on 2nd and 14th, boom, me and this number 14th had beef before the game because he was in pregame warm-ups telling me how much I suck. Boom! I said, son, you gonna be on your back all night. We gonna see who really suck. But on 1st and 10, I absolutely was trying to push him out of bounds, and Chunky Badookie absolutely didn't block anyone, but we going to score and win the ball game. Chunky Badookie, first game at guard, he has 4 total pancakes. Going into our next game against 5-0 Arkansas, it's time to boom, absolutely take them down because we are trying to work for a national championship here. But on 3rd and 9, Montrell Johnson Jr. was running the ball so hard, he fumbled it, and he glad that we got back on it because on 2nd and 1, I came around that corner and laid him block and said, if we fumble the ball like that, we can't win no game. So I threw him to the ground, and Montrell got his get back. On 1st and 10, boom, that's how you knock somebody out of the club. Look over him and throw him back down. On 2nd and 7, I come around that corner, boom, son, this is the blind side. You are going for a ride, buddy. On 1st and 10, they got pancaked at the same time, but Montrell fumbles that ball again. The referee comes up, and he will reverse it. We get the ball back, absolutely knock him out of the play, and Montrell Johnson Johnson Jr. gets up the field, and on 2nd and 7, I come around with another huge block, and ETN takes it in for 6. Not only did we score, we have to make the 2-point conversion, and we did not do so. And on 1st and goal, I blocked nothing but air, and we go in to score 25-21, and now we have to make the 2-point conversion, and we will do so. It's 3rd and 10, 4 seconds on that clock. What is gonna happen? Graham Mertz throw the ball up, and it was a dream come true. We were going to win the ball game, and Chunky Badookie the 14th ends the game off with 3 pancakes. But going into our next game against LSU, after a great game, Chunky has been going through a lot of depression. He was fighting a lot of problems, missing his grandmother, also having no family by his side can also be a big factor. And if you ask me, bam, I feel like it was a good thing for him because he was taking his anger out on all of these players and he was not playing. Now, he's the real deal out there, and boom, you got lucky. On 2nd and 13, he was blocking up again and nothing happened. On 2nd and goal, we get down the field and score, and he ends the game off with 2 pancakes. Going into our next game against Missouri, I mean, we absolutely are off to a great season, but Chunky Badookie the 14th absolutely has to get his pancake number up if he wants to beat the challenge that he has set for his career. But going against this D lineman, he kind of reminded me of myself a little bit. He was chunky and he was kind of strong. This dude here was trying to pull me all game, and I'm not gonna lie, I wasn't going for it. I was absolutely hammering down, putting my hand to his chest and trying to strangulate him. But we're going to lose our first game. Going into our next game against number 25 Georgia. They're 4-3. Somehow, some way, they're number 25, but I don't understand. I tried to throw him out of bounds, and Montreal Johnson read it with a good block. But going into the next play, I absolutely threw my block into him, and that wasn't a great start. We kicked 3 to get the game started. On 2nd and 1, I hammered down on this D lineman. I told him you wasn't going anywhere. I put sticky glue on my gloves, and I was gonna make sure that I hear a oof after I hit him so hard. But on 2nd and 6, we were down, and this was our first time being down in the game. And I'm not gonna lie, we were not facing adversity, but we dropped down the field, and we had no seconds on the clock, and we will almost get in on the one. We lose our second game. Going into our next game against Vanderbilt. On 1st and 10, Chunky Badookie the 14th was absolutely hurting. His body has never been through this much contact at this pace, and I'm telling you, he's out here hurting. He has to go take a few ice baths because he's kind of not feeling it this game and not doing anything out there. But on 2nd and 9, he kind of picks it up a little bit, just covering someone up while Montreal Johnson Jr. gets up the field. And on 2nd and 4, he's trying his best to block up so he could get out of this game, and we will not win the ball game. We were going to lose another one, and he had no pancakes. Going into our next game against the Gamecocks, boom, after taking that ice bath, he was fully equipped for this next game. And on 2nd and 6, boom, he was not playing with this number 20, but Montreal Johnson Jr. somehow, some way found a way to that first down. But boom, I'm going to clean his clock all game. But going into the next play on 2nd and goal, I blocked air, and absolutely some way we scored. But on boom, oh man, that number 20 is going to feel me. But number 19 saved him. He made the tackle. But I absolutely block air again. And on 4th and 29, we're down with no seconds on the clock. And guess what? We're going to lose another game because we just suck and we are terrible at football. But he ends the game off for 6 pancakes. After coming off a 4-game, boom, losing streak, it's time to get our revenge against this FCS team. And if we don't win this one, I'm telling you, boom, we suck. But going into the next play on 2nd and 6, boom, I clean his clock so you suck. You need to quit football. On 1st and 10, boom, have you ever heard of a freight train that comes through and clean you up? But on 1st and 10, I will throw you to that ground with one hand. Son, that is so disrespectful. I didn't even run through you. I manhandled you. On 1st and 10, boom, oh man, they need some help. Boom, it's gonna be a movie out here. I'm coming and I'm trying to take, boom, ACL, MCL out, 25. I was almost gonna get you, but we win the game, and he ends the game up with 11 total pancakes. After absolutely padding the stats last game, Chunky Badookie the 14th was off to a great start, and coach was absolutely impressed. I mean, he said, son, I will give you some money if you play like that every game. And Chunky doesn't know if he gets a full paid scholarship, he will absolutely get refunds, and that will finally give him money. He has never had a job. He has never been given money, so that will be a blessing for him, man. So getting down to the goal line, we absolutely score and we win the game, but we didn't even qualify for a bowl game and absolutely didn't go to the conference championship game. So with that being said, his challenge is for 500 pancakes in a whole career. He's already at 28, man. He has some ways to go, but he hasn't let up any sacks yet, so that's a good start. But drop in the comments down below if you think he's going to complete all of his career goals or will he fail.